All right, our next chapter is chapter 22, Evidence. I spent the night at Phoebe's house, but I could hardly sleep. Phoebe kept saying, "Hear that noise?" And she would jump up to peer out the window in case it was the lunatic returning for the rest of us. Once she saw Mrs. Cadaver in her garden with a flashlight. I must have fallen asleep after that because I awoke to the sound of Phoebe crying in her sleep. When I woke her, she denied it. I was not crying. I most certainly was not. In the morning, Phoebe refused to get up. Her father rushed into the room with two ties slung around his neck and his shoes in his hand. "Phoebe, you're late." "I'm sick," she said. "I have a fever and a stomach ache." Her father placed his hand on her forehead, looked deep into her eyes, and said, "I'm afraid you have to go to school." "I'm sick, honest," she said. "It might be cancer." "Phoebe, I know you're worried, but there's nothing we can do but wait. We have to go on with things. We can't malinger." "We can't what?" Phoebe said. "Malinger. Here, look it up." He tossed her the dictionary from her desk and tore down the hall. "My mother is missing, and my father hands me a dictionary?" Phoebe said. She looked up the word malinger and read the definition. To pretend to be ill in order to escape duty or work. She slammed the book shut. "I am not malingering." Prudence was in a frenzy. "Where is my white blouse? Phoebe, have you seen? Oh, I could have sworn." She pulled things out of her closet and flung them on the bed. Phoebe reluctantly got dressed, pulled on a wrinkled blouse and skirt from the closet. Downstairs, the kitchen table was bare. "No bowls of muesli," Phoebe said. "No glasses of orange juice or whole wheat toast." She touched a white sweater hanging on the back of a chair. "My mother's favorite white cardigan," she said. She snatched the sweater and waved it in front of her father. "Look at this. Would she leave this behind? Would she?" He reached forward and touched its sleeve, rubbing the fabric between his fingers for a moment. "Phoebe, it's an old sweater." Phoebe put it on over her wrinkled blouse. I was uneasy because everything that happened at Phoebe's that morning reminded me of when my mother left. For weeks, my father and I fumbled around like ducks in a fit. Nothing was where it was supposed to be. The house took on a life of its own, hatching piles of dishes and laundry and newspapers and dust. Raise your hand if your mom left for a day or 2 days or more, if your house might look similar to this. Yeah, our moms really take care of us. My father must have said, "I'll be jiggered," 3,000 times. The chickens were fidgety, the cows were skittish, and the pigs were sullen and glum. Our dog, Moody Blue, whimpered for hours on end. When my father said that my mother was not coming back, I refused to believe it. I brought all her postcards down from my room and said, "She wrote me all these. She must be coming back." And just like Phoebe, who had waved her mother's sweater in front of her father, I had brought in a chicken from the coop. "Would Mom leave her favorite chicken?" I demanded. "She loves this chicken." What I really meant was, how can she not come back to me? She loves me. At school, Phoebe slammed her books on her desk. Beth Ann said, "Hey, Phoebe, your blouse is a little wrinkled." "My mother's away," Phoebe said. "I iron my own clothes now," Beth Ann said. "I even iron—" "To me," Phoebe whispered. I think I'm having a genuine heart attack. I thought about a baby rabbit that our dog, Moody Blue, caught and carried around. Oh, we kind of have a flashback here because if she's in the middle of school and she's like, oh gosh, I might have a heart attack, she's all of a sudden flashing back to something that happened probably in Bybanks because we haven't heard anything about a dog, so it probably was from Bybanks. I thought about a baby rabbit that our dog, Moody Blue, carried around. She was not actually lunching on the rabbit, just playing. I finally coaxed Moody Blue to drop it, and when I picked up the rabbit, its heart was beating faster than anything. Faster and faster it went, and then, all of a sudden, its heart stopped. I took the rabbit to my mother. She said, "It's dead, Salamanca." "It can't be dead," I said. "It was alive just a minute ago." I wondered what would happen if all of a sudden Phoebe's heart beat itself out like the rabbit's, and she fell down and died right there at school. Her mother wouldn't even know that Phoebe was dead. After homeroom, Mary Lou said to Phoebe, "Did I hear you say your mother's away?" Christy and Megan gathered around. "Is your mother on a business trip?" Christy said. "My mother's always going to Paris on business trips, so where's your mother? On a business trip?" Phoebe nodded. "Well, where'd she go?" Megan said. "Tokyo, Saudi Arabia." Phoebe said, "London." "Oh, London," Christy said. "My mother's been there." Phoebe turned to me with a puzzled expression on her face. I think she was surprised at what she'd said, but I knew exactly why she had lied. It was easier sometimes. I had done this myself when people asked about my mother. "Don't worry, Phoebe," I said. She snapped, "I'm not worried." I'd done that too. Whenever anyone tried to console me about my mother, I nearly chomped their heads off. I was a complete ornery old donkey. When my father would say, "You must feel terrible," I denied it. "I don't," I told him. "I don't feel anything at all." But I did feel terrible. I didn't want to wake up in the morning, and I was afraid to go to sleep at night. Oh, geez, guys, this is a long chapter. And I'm not even there to hear you moaning and groaning about, no, don't stop, keep reading. Oh, Lordy, how long? Gosh. I'll read a little bit more. You talked me into it. By lunchtime, people were coming at Phoebe from all directions. "How long will your mother be in London?" Mary Lou asked. "Is she having tea with the Queen?" "Tell her to go to Convent Garden," Christy said. "My mother just loves Convent Garden." "It's Covent Garden," Mary Lou said. "It isn't," Christy said. "It's Convent Garden." After school, we walked home with Ben and Mary Lou. Phoebe wouldn't say a word. "What's the matter, Freebie?" Ben asked. "Talk." Out of the blue, I said, "Everyone has his own agenda." Ben tripped over the curb, and Mary Lou gave me a peculiar look. I kept hoping that Phoebe's mother would be home. Even though the door was locked, I kept hoping. "Are you sure you want me to come in?" I said. "Maybe you want to be alone." Phoebe said, "I don't want to be alone."